Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Rama, Hare Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Priyavjakacharya, Asto Dhartata Shri Srimad Nitya Leela Pravista, His Divine Grace, Srila Charana Arvinda, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, ISKCON PVD Founder Acharya, Jagat Guru, Patita Pavana, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Srila Prabhupada Vyasapuja Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai. Sri Nandotsav, the birth ceremony festival of Lord Shri Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. My water bottle is back there. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjara Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishnam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Didati Svapadanti Kan Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam, Savadutam, Parijana Sahitam, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padan, Sahagana Lalita, Shri Vishakavitam Scha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandho Jagatpate, Gopisha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Brindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Divyad Brindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasana Sto Srimad Radha Shilagovinda Devo Prestalabi Savyamano Smarami. In a temple of jewels underneath the desire trees of Vrindavan, seated upon an effulgent throne are the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates. We beg to offer our respectful obeisances unto them. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarane. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth, having taken shelter at the feet of the Transcendental Lord. Obeisances unto you, O spiritual master, O servant of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, you are so kindly preaching the message of Lord Sri Chaitanya Dev and are delivering these Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. It was Janmashtami, the annual celebration of the advent of Lord Krishna, some 5,000 years before. Residents of Calcutta, mostly Bengalis and other Indians, but also many Muslims and even some British, were observing the festive day, moving here and there through the city's streets to visit the temples of Lord Krishna. Devout Vaishnavas, fasting until midnight, chanting Hare Krishna, chanted Hare Krishna, and heard about the birth and activities of Lord Krishna from the Srimad Bhagavatam. They continued fasting, chanting, and worshiping throughout the night. The next day, September 1st, 1896, today, in a little house in the Taligunj suburb of Calcutta, a male child was born, since he was born on Nandotsav, the day Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, had observed a festival in honor of Krishna's birth. The boy's uncle called him Nandulal. But his father, Gaur Mohan Dey, and his mother, Rajani, named him Abhay Charan. So this is a very special day for so many reasons. It is Nandotsav. It is the day the actual festival, Krishna's birthday, was observed today, because he appeared at midnight, which was the conclusion of the previous day, which we celebrate as Krishna's birth, but up until the very end of day, midnight. So usually, or often, or most of the time, we concentrate, as we definitely should, just on the glories of Srila Prabhupada on this day. But given a little bit of freedom, because we're fasting and we don't have to stop at 9 o'clock to eat breakfast, I would like to preface or preamble our entrance into attempting to touch a little bit of the glories of Srila Prabhupada by hearing something about the great importance and ecstatic position of this day, Nandotsav, where all the residents in Vrindavan so joyously heralded and participated in this great ceremony. And Srila Prabhupada will look a little bit at his purports here in this 10th canto, chapter 5, meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev. These are some of Srila Prabhupada's last purports that he presented while on this planet in 1977. And as only such a pure devotee as Srila Prabhupada can do, relating the topmost Leela pastimes of Krishna in the spiritual world, and what to speak of all other incarnations, applying it to our time, place, and circumstance, but in such a way that it delivers us not only from this material existence, which is impossible to do without the help of such a pure devotee spiritual master, but brings us simultaneously to the highest position. Before Prabhupada went to London in triumph, actually we say, except 9/11, it's like a day that will live in infamy, okay? But Prabhupada actually arrived in London on September 11th, 1969. So we could train ourselves to remember that date and its significance, and by far greater, making pale in comparison 9/11/2001. So just before that, it's like September 11th is coming soon. So before that, Prabhupada was observing Janmashtami and Vyasapuja in Hamburg, Germany. And there he gave a Vyasapuja lecture, and he said that the business of the spiritual master, Samsaradava Nalalita Loka Tranaya Karuna Ganaganatvam, that this material world is a continuous blazing fire. Can you be happy in a blazing forest fire, even for a moment? What is the sane thought, or the proper thought of any sane living entity to get out of the fire? You don't even, somewhat admirable, but kind of foolish to think this first. Who set fire? Who started the fire? You know, if you're in a house that's burning down, you don't ask that. You can ask that afterwards. The main thing is how to get out. So the spiritual master, he delivers the materially afflicted world by, he's a very attractive cloud which attracts the ocean of mercy, which is Lord Krishna. And he becomes, we see the clouds, they're floating seemingly effortlessly in the air, just like, but they're very, very heavy. Hare Krishna, thank you. That is one of the mystic cities of being in contact with Yogeshwar. That which is heavy can become lighter than the lightest. Just like we were hearing Lord Balaram dispatching this Pralambasura who disguised himself, a devotee in disguise, you know. Kali Chela, well, worse, he was completely demoniac to the core. And Balaram, understanding the situation, okay, I'm riding on piggyback, cowherd boys. The victor has to carry the loser has to carry the victor on their shoulders. But Balaram made himself so heavy that the demon not only had to put him down, but he had to reveal his true position. So Guru is heavy. He makes everybody is starkly revealed before the spiritual master. Prabhupada's disciples had this very common experience that Prabhupada would look just right through you and see everything about you, all your previous births in this material world, but without, you know, like somebody exposing you in the material world, shame, humiliation, and group mockery, no. But actual love and compassion, and deeper than just seeing everything in the past, seeing who you ultimately are in relationship to Krishna. And that experience, you understand that I have met my eternal spiritual master. He has come to save me. And I will do anything and everything. I will give my entire life to him and his mission. So then Prabhupada went on to say in Hamburg on this day in 1969 that all of you should become spiritual master. Becoming spiritual master is not a difficult job. All you have to do is repeat the instructions of your spiritual master and the entire disciplic succession, which concurs and is in complete concord with all the pure Vedic literatures and ultimately Lord Krishna himself. And it is so much necessary. This world is blazing fire, and there needs to be so many spiritual masters, pure devotees, to deliver the pure message of Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami said, Nanda Maharaj was naturally very magnanimous And when Lord Sri Krishna appeared as his son, he was overwhelmed by jubilation. We can keep in mind the parallel of this day. We celebrate the festival of Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata are the reincarnation or reappearance of Nanda and Yashoda as the father and mother of Krishna, this time as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And because there isn't anything really happening the day after Gaur Punim, save and except that, so we have like a more of a focus on that. But we can parallel it here because the origin is Krishna's appearance. And Nanda Maharaj and the residents of Vrindavan, celebration of Krishna's appearance. Therefore, after bathing and purifying himself and dressing himself properly, he invited Brahmins who knew how to recite Vedic mantras. After having these qualified Brahmins recite auspicious Vedic hymns, he arranged to have the Vedic birth ceremony celebrated for his newborn child according to the rules and regulations. He also arranged for the worship of the demigods and forefathers. We can't read it all, but we'll read some of the more notable. Nanda Maharaj gave 2 million cows completely decorated with cloth and jewels in charity to the Brahmins. He also gave them 7 hills of grain covered with jewels and with cloth decorated with golden embroidery. This is a previous age, so we shouldn't think ourselves so fancy schmancy and opulently situated in this, Prabhupada will use the word coming, niggardly age of Kali Yuga. O king, by the passing of time, land and other material possessions are purified. By bathing, the body is purified, and by being cleansed, unclean things are purified. By purificatory ceremonies, birth is purified. By austerity, the senses are purified. And by worship and charity offered to the Brahmanas, material possessions are purified. By satisfaction, the mind is purified. And by self-realization or Krishna consciousness, the soul is purified. These are Shastric injunctions concerning how one can purify everything according to Vedic civilization. Unless purified, anything we use will infect us with contamination. In India, 5,000 years ago, even in the villages, such as that of Nanda Maharaj, people knew how to purify things, and thus they enjoyed even material life without contamination. Brajapur, the residence of Nanda Maharaj, was fully decorated with varieties of festoons and flags, and in different places gates were made with varieties of flower garlands, pieces of cloth, and mango leaves. The courtyards, the gates near the roads, and everything within the rooms of the houses were perfectly swept and washed with water. The cows, the bulls, and the calves were thoroughly smeared with a mixture of turmeric and oil, mixed with varieties of minerals. Their heads were bedecked with peacock feathers, and they were garlanded and covered with cloth and golden ornaments. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is instructed in Bhagavad Gita 18:44. Krishi Goraksha Vanigyam, Vaishya Karma Svabhavajam. Farming, cow protection, and trade are the qualities of work for the Vaishyas. Nanda Maharaj belonged to the Vaishya community. How to protect the cows and how rich this community was are explained in these verses. We can hardly imagine that cows, bulls, and calves could be cared for so nicely and decorated so well with cloth and valuable golden ornaments. How happy they were, as described here in the Bhagavatam. During Maharaj Yudhishthir's time, the cows were so happy that they used to muddy the pasturing ground with milk. This is Indian civilization. Yet, in the same place, India, Bharatvarsha, how much people are suffering by giving up the Vedic way of life and not understanding the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. O King Parikshit, the cowherd men dressed very opulently with valuable ornaments and garments such as coats and turbans. Decorated in this way and carrying various presentations in their hands, they approached the house of Nanda Maharaj. When we consider the past condition of the agriculturalist in the village, we can see how opulent he was simply because of agricultural produce and protection of cows. Prabhupada told us that anything you, the devotees, grow and offer to Lord Krishna yourself with your own hands is thousands of times more nutritious than anything you can buy in the store. And Prabhupada, he gave this as one of the 7 principles of ISKCON that bring the members together for a simpler and more natural way of life. And Prabhupada told us very emphatically to develop self-sufficient farm communities, not only to shelter ourselves, but to give shelter to everyone else, fleeing the horrors of Kali Yuga. At present, however, agriculture having been neglected and cow protection being given up, the agriculturist is suffering pitiably and dressed in a niggardly torn cloth. This is the distinction between the India of history and the India of the present day. By the atrocious activities of Ugra Karma, how we are killing the opportunity of human civilization. We have very sterling examples of different devotees. I can think of 2 in particular, Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Korma Rupa Prabhu, who began Care for Cows, a very wonderful organization in Vrindavan. Of course, he's gone back home, back to Godhead. Our Hansa Rupa Prabhu is continuing functionally Care for Cows and the legacy of Korma Rupa. And we also have the founder of ISCALP, International Society for Cow Protection, Balabhadra Prabhu, who joined in Hawaii, but also I know him. He spent many years in Gita Nagari, but now he has his own cow protection sanctuary in Florida, very much dedicated to this mission of protecting cows. The Gopi wives of the cowherd men were very pleased to hear that Mother Yashoda had given birth to a son. And they began to decorate themselves very nicely with proper dresses, ornaments, black ointment for the eyes, and so on. Their lotus-like faces, extraordinarily beautiful, being decorated with saffron and newly grown kumkum, the wives of the cowherd men hurried to the house of Mother Yashoda with presentations in their hands. Because of natural beauty, the wives had full hips and full breasts, which moved as they hurried along. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada describes in comparison the position of womanhood in the previous age compared to today. The cowherd men and women in the villages lived a very natural life, and the women developed a natural feminine beauty with full hips and breasts. Because women in modern civilization do not live naturally, their hips and breasts do not develop this natural fullness. Because of artificial living, women have lost their natural beauty, although they claim to be independent and advanced in material civilization. The ultimate advancement in freedom is to kill the child in the womb. That is their freedom. This description of the village women gives a clear example of the contrast between natural life and the artificial life of a condemned society, such as that of the Western countries where topless, bottomless beauty may be easily purchased in clubs and shops for public advertisements. When Prabhupada was here in New York, actually the 1970s of all decades in fairly recent history in New York in the last, say, 140 years, was the worst degradation. We go to Times Square and we see more or less family-friendly or okay places for people to go and see, had become what was described here. It was the most hellish nightmare, Times Square, and many other parts of New York City. Very, very dangerous, very, very degraded. Prabhupada lived here and witnessed it. So here he's writing. The word Balabi indicates that women were carrying gold coins, jeweled necklaces, nice cloths, newly grown grass, sandalwood pulp, flower garlands, and similar offerings on plates made of gold. This indicates how happy the village women were to understand that Mother Yashoda had given birth to a wonderful child known as Krishna. So keep in mind, this is Boma Vrindavan, and these are all the eternal associates of the Lord. But all devotees, when they come to this world, they show by their life's example how everyone else should live and mold their life and desires and time to achieve the same highest perfection that they, coming from the spiritual world, are already situated on. So this is the culture and civilization of Lord Krishna that he likes, that he chooses to live and reciprocate loving dealings with his pure devotees eternally. In the ears of the gopis were brilliantly polished jeweled earrings, and from their necks hung metal lockets. Their hands were decorated with bangles. Their dresses were of varied colors. And from their hair, flowers fell onto the street like showers. Thus, while going to the house of Nanda Maharaj, the gopis, their earrings, breasts, and garlands movings were brilliantly beautiful. This description of the gopis who were going to the house of Maharaj Nanda to welcome Krishna is especially significant. The gopis were not ordinary women, but expansions of Krishna's pleasure potency, as described in the Brahma Samhita. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pitavita Bhista Virya Eva Nicharupataya Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govindamari Pursham Tamaham Bhajami. If you know, chant with me. Chintamani Prakarak Sadmashu Kalpa Vriksha Laksavatesa Surabir Abhipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasa Sata Sambrahma Sevyamanam Govindamari Pursham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna is always worshipped by the gopis wherever he goes. There's a statement in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in regards to Lord Chaitanya that only with the internal devotees of the Lord does he advent to propound the Sankirtan movement. Only with them does he distribute love of Godhead to the people, and only with them does he taste this highest nectar of love of Godhead. So Krishna is always worshipped by the gopis wherever or whenever he goes. Therefore, Krishna is so vividly described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also described Krishna in this way. Ramya Kachid Upasan Brajavadu Brajena Ya Kalpita. All these gopis were going to offer Krishna their presentations because the gopis are eternal associates of the Lord. Now the gopis were more jubilant because of the news of Krishna's appearance in Vrindavan. So any sane person, and what to speak of ourselves, devotees, when we understand that other devotees are given birth to children and they will come into this Krishna consciousness movement right from their very birth, even before in the womb, we're joyous and happy. We make devotees any way we can, somehow or another, but Srila Prabhupada showed how this is the perfect way to engage the natural propensity in this world for family life to bring forth devotees, and how Prabhupada so much loved and cared and appreciated devotee children. Offering blessings to the newborn child, Krishna, the wives and daughters of the cowherd men said, "May you become the king of Braja and long maintain all its inhabitants." They sprinkled a mixture of turmeric powder, oil, and water upon the birthless Supreme Personality of Godhead and offered their prayers. Now that the all-pervading, unlimited Lord Krishna, the master of the cosmic manifestation, had arrived within the estate of Maharaj Nanda, various types of musical instruments resounded to celebrate the great festival. Krishna is the master of all creation. Therefore, not only in the house and neighborhood of Nanda Maharaj, but all over the universe. And in all other universes, musical sounds resounded the auspicious arrival of the Lord. So if anyone has spare time today, this is highly recommended to read this chapter. Also, it is there in the Krishna book. O Maharaj Parikshit, the house of Nanda Maharaj is eternally the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Is it anonymous or is the devotee credited? This is in the Padyavali. Let others worship the Shruti and Smriti and worship this and that. I choose to worship Nanda Maharaj because in his house, the Supreme Absolute Truth is crawling in his courtyard as a child. The home of Nanda Maharaj is eternally the abode of the Supreme Personality of God and his transcendental qualities, and is therefore always naturally endowed with the opulence of all wealth. Yet beginning from Lord Krishna's appearance there, it became the place of the pastimes of the goddess of fortune. Don't worry about money. Do something wonderful, and money will come automatically. The goddess of fortune always wishes to serve her beloved husband. And where such pure devotees, that is their only intention, she is there simply wanting to facilitate. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Lakshmi Sahasra Satasam Brahma Sevyamanam Govindamari Porsham Tamaham Bhajami. The abode of Krishna is always served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. Wherever Krishna goes, the goddess of fortune naturally resides with him. The chief of the goddesses of fortune is Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Krishna's appearance in the land of Braja indicated the chief goddess of fortune, Radharani, would also appear there very soon. Nanda Maharaj's abode was already opulent, and since Krishna had appeared, it would be opulent in all respects. So, this is the day that our Srila Prabhupada has made his appearance on this most super ecstatic and joyous day. And Krishna personally arranging for Srila Prabhupada to appear on this day, so to speak, as we were saying earlier, as devotees in ISKCON, as disciples of Srila Prabhupada, we put more emphasis on his appearance, almost to the point of not even really understanding how this is Nandotsav, this is Krishna's birthday celebration. Krishna likes to see his devotees more glorified than himself. So his father and mother named him Abhay Charan. We see how devotee parents, they give their child a name, and then later they become initiated. And oftentimes the spiritual master, he doesn't want to mess with that which is already perfect. So in this case, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Abhay Charan, your name is simply Abhay Charan Aravinda. Abhay Charan, one who is fearless, having taken shelter at the feet of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. In accordance with Bengali tradition, the mother had gone to the home of her parents for the delivery, and so it was that on the bank of the Adi Ganga. So now ISKCON has control of this place, correct? So you can actually visit the actual exact birth site of Srila Prabhupada in Calcutta. A few miles from his father's house, in a small two-room mud-walled house with a tiled roof underneath a jackfruit tree, which is still there? Yes. Wonderful. Abhay Charan was born. A few days later, Abhay returned with his parents to their home at 151 Harrison Road. An astrologer did a horoscope for the child, and the family was made jubilant by the auspicious reading. The astrologer made a prediction. When this child reaches the age of 70, he would cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open up 108 temples. 500 years before, my Senapata Bhakta will appear, commander-in-chief of the devotees, and spread this movement all over the world. Gaurapanim, 1936, the last Gaurapanim festival of the Gaudiya month, attended by Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, addressing everyone, all of his disciples, sannyasis, leaders, congregational members, pilgrims in general, thousands of people in Mayapur, speaking about the need to spread this knowledge outside of India, which he had been burning with this desire his entire life. Our Srila Prabhupada at that time, he was not in the sannyas ashram. He was not looked upon as one of the senior members of his spiritual master's institution. He was not sitting in the front. He was towards the back, towards the side. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stopped his speech for a long, pregnant silence, and devotees who were present who give this recount, you can read this in the wonderful book compiled by Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Mul Prakriti Devi Dasi, Srila Prabhupada, a friend to all. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta made direct eye contact with our Srila Prabhupada, gazing at him during this silence. Then he composed himself and readdressed everyone in his commanding, stately way. But I have a prediction. No matter how long in the future it will be, one of my disciples will cross the ocean and bring back the entire world. When this child reached the age of 70, he would cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open 108 temples. So here's a little description of the very religious, pious, and devoted situation that Prabhupada was born into, or appeared into. Abhay Charan Dey was born into an India, and also describing the situation politically, dominated by Victorian imperialism. Calcutta was the capital of India, the seat of the viceroy for the Earl of Elgin and Kincardine, and the second city of the British Empire. Europeans and Indians lived separately, although in business and in education they intermingled. The British lived mostly in central Calcutta and missed their own theaters, racetracks, cricket fields, and fine European buildings. The Indians lived more in North Calcutta. Here the men dressed in dhotis and the women in saris, while remaining loyal to the British Crown, followed their traditional religion and culture. So the British Raj, at this time of Prabhupada's appearance, had already been there for 140 years or so, since the 1750s. Abhai's home at 151 Harrison Road was in the Indian section of North Calcutta. Abhai's father, Gaur Mohan Dey, was a cloth merchant of moderate income and belonged to the aristocratic Suvarna Banik merchant community. Actually, Prabhupada describes in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that this Dey family that he appeared into was in line with Udaran Dat Thakur, who was an incarnation of one of the 12 prominent Gopals, or cowherd boyfriends of Krishna and Balaram. You can find that lengthy purport where Prabhupada, in his own words, is describing these things in the chapter 10 of the Adi Leela, the Associates of Lord Chaitanya. He was related, however, to the wealthy Malik family, which for hundreds of years had traded in gold and salt with the British. Originally, the Maliks had been members of the Dey family, a Gotra lineage that traces back to the ancient sage Gautama. But during the Mughal period of pre-British India, a Muslim ruler had conferred the title Mulik, Lord, on a wealthy, influential branch of the Dees. Then, several generations later, a daughter of the Dees had married into the Malik family, and the two families had remained close ever since. An entire block of properties on either side of Harrison Road belonged to Lokanath Malik, and Gaur Mohan and his family lived in a few rooms of a three-story building within the Malik properties. Across the street from the Dees residence was a Radha Govinda temple. Now we were hearing how Radha Govinda are the deities of Rupa Goswami. Rameshwar Prabhu was describing to us how important Radha Govinda were. Srila Prabhupada placed their picture on a cover of the Srimad Bhagavatam, so many other things, but here, these were the original childhood deities of Srila Prabhupada. He worshipped from the very beginning of his life, Sri Sri Radha Govinda. Radha Govinda Temple, where for the past 150 years, so that's 1740, the Maliks had maintained worship of the deity of Radha and Krishna. Various shops on the Malik properties provided income for the deity and the priests conducting the worship. Every morning before breakfast, the Malik family members would visit the temple to see the deities of Radha Govinda. They would offer cooked rice, kachoris, and vegetables on a large platter and would then distribute the prasadam to the deity's morning visitors from the neighborhood. Among the daily visitors was a Bhai-charan accompanying his father, mother, or servant. Srila Prabhupada, he gives a little memory. I used to ride on the same perambulator, that's a child carriage, with Siddheshwar Malik. He used to call me Moti, Pearl, and his nickname was Subhuti. And the servant pushed us together. If one day this friend did not see me, he would become mad. He would not go in the baby carriage without me. We would not be separated for even a moment. Srila Prabhupada. I can remember standing at the doorway of the Radha Govinda temple saying prayers to Radha Govinda Murti. I would watch for hours together. The deity was so beautiful with his slanted eyes. Beautifully dressed, dancing on their silver throne beneath a silver canopy and surrounded by flowers, to a eye they appeared most attractive. Life outside on Harrison Road and beyond was forgotten. In the courtyard, the birds went on chirping, visitors came and went, but Abai stood silently absorbed in seeing the beautiful forms of Krishna and Radharani, the Supreme Lord and his eternal consort. There's, I think you can even see the video, a New York City local network news reporter is interviewing Srila Prabhupada at an airport arrival, and then he's trying to pin Srila Prabhupada down. Swamiji, when did you first realize Krishna as the highest truth? And Prabhupada is preaching, yeah, well, you can realize too, and he's preaching to the man basically, yeah, I understand, Swamiji, but when did you realize Krishna as the highest truth? And again, Prabhupada, and the man was very persistent, and Prabhupada said, from the age of 3 or 4 years old, I realized the highest truth. And also Prabhupada sometimes would answer, there was never a time in my life when I was forgetful of Lord Krishna. So this is a symptom of the Nitya Siddha. They never have forgotten their relationship with Krishna, ever. So Srila Prabhupada's life up to the point where he manifested himself as the most empowered founder, acharya, spiritual master of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is understood by his devotees in the light of, as this is aptly titled, of the first volume of Lilamrita, Lifetime in Preparation. Because again, even the eternal residents of Vrindavan, they show by their life's example how we can follow. So, in this material world, everything is very, very difficult. That is the definition of this world, Durga, a fortress, one cannot get out, but everything is very, very difficult. But by unwavering determination to serve one's predecessor, spiritual master, all obstacles are overcome. By serving the feet of these 6 Goswamis, Tandera Charani say, Bhakta Sanivas, all obstacles to devotion are destroyed, and Ye Prashade Pure Sarva, one's real desire is fulfilled. Maya makes us think all these things, I desire this is me, this is what I want, when this is as far from the true reality of ourself as can be. We were mentioning yesterday Srila Prabhupada's last tour of the United States concluded here in New York after Rath Yatra in July of 1976. But just before, it was arranged that Srila Prabhupada be in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where 2 events were happening. The 200th birthday of the United States, 1776 to 1976. 2 years from now will be 250-year anniversary. Hopefully the United States makes it that long. And the 10th anniversary of ISKCON. So Srila Prabhupada would always give credit to his spiritual master for everything, but especially after all this incredible success and monumental expansion of the Krishna consciousness movement, the fulfillment of all the predictions about himself and what he would do right from the time of his birth. He didn't desist from giving any credit to his spiritual master. In fact, would give more. It would make the point even more emphatic. So here, he's speaking this, commenting on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 20, verse 101. Could you look up, what is that verse? Madhya Lila, chapter 20, verse 101. That's, I believe, teachings to Rupa Goswami. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, and of course, in Bhagavad Gita 241, the commentary, Vyavasyatmika Buddhir, Ekeha Kurunandana, in the minds, in the minds who they're resolute in purpose and their aim is one. Whereas those who are not resolute, their determination is many-branched. Or their, what is it? The English translation.
Out of your causes mercy, you have delivered me from the materialistic path. Now by the same causes mercy, please tell me what my duty is.
This is Rupa Goswami or Sanatana Goswami? Chapter 20? Yes. Okay. Actually, you see, if you look at the Chaitanya Charitamrita lectures that are there available for us, he's mostly speaking on this. Sanatana Goswami, the proper position for us to approach the spiritual master and in the proper mood and mentality receive what he wants to offer us. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, my only duty is to execute the order of my spiritual master. I do not mind whether I am going back to hell or going back to home. No, my only life and soul is to execute the order of my spiritual master. He is explained like that. So devotional service is a great responsibility to execute the order of the superior. Then our life is successful. So the spiritual master is not accepted as a fashion or as a social decoration, something to add to how I fancy myself to be cool or to impress other people, or that I fit in with everybody else. Hey, I'm initiated also. But it is one of very great responsibility. Actually, pure devotees, they are the most compassionate well-wishers to the entire human society, to all living entities. We see in Prabhupada's preaching how he would hammer again and again to the so-called religionists, why are you killing the animals? Thou shalt not kill. Prabhupada would sometimes use sarcasm. There was one Indian doctor, and he was meeting Srila Prabhupada in the room. Prabhupada is asking him his profession. I'm a biologist. Yes, what do you do? We experiment on animals. And Prabhupada very, very dryly and calmly says, which animals? Mostly cats. And Prabhupada said, all the other animals don't get a chance? The man, by that sarcasm, the man could realize what a horrible position he's taking by... The sages met at Naimisharanya, understanding that Kali Yuga was upon them. And with great concern, when devotees get together for Istagosti and Sadhu Sangha, the main thing should be, how can we expand the preaching? There was a GBC meeting, and they gave the minutes to Srila Prabhupada, and he's looking at all the things and this and that. He said, I don't see, where did you discuss how to chant the holy name better? How to expand the preaching? Where is all that? That's what... So they're addressing Sutta Goswami. Knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead, and in this way perform sacrifice. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship. For those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. The age of Kali is very dangerous for the human being. Sometimes when I would meet, on Sankirtan, meet policemen or firemen, I would praise them. I'm saying, you've picked a very noble profession. I know you're not just doing this, you want to make money, but you want to help people. And they like that. So becoming a devotee of the Lord, I felt like this way back when I was 19 years old, in 1978, hearing the philosophy, even just, like a few hours of it from the first devotees who preached to me. Yes, I want to dedicate my life to helping people. This is the best thing I can do for my life. The age of Kali is very dangerous for the human being. Human life is simply meant for self-realization. But due to this dangerous age, men have completely forgotten the aim of life. In this age, lifespan will gradually decrease. People will gradually lose their memory, finer sentiments, strength, and better qualities. A list of the anomalies for this age is given in the 12th canto of this work. And so this age is very difficult for those who want to utilize this life for self-realization. The people are so busy with sense gratification that they completely forget about self-realization. So we put the changing bodies outside yesterday. So wonderful. Actually, this could be like a regular activity on any given day, especially Monday through Friday when people are coming and going. Just put it out there, have a book table, and just sit there, and a donation basket, and just sit there all day long. Happy is a man who can earn his who earns his livelihood. He doesn't have to go any further than his arms can reach. And the sign there was perfect. Who am I? Why am I here? Why do I have to die? It was really wonderful how the light in the soul, you got that to work. Out of madness, they frankly say that there is no need for self-realization because they do not realize that this brief life is but a moment of our great journey towards self-realization. The whole system of education is geared to sense gratification, and if a learned man thinks it over, he sees university degrees are not helpful. That the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. Prabhupada, speaking to his sannyasi assistants traveling in India, said that India is mostly illiterate, and this is their great good fortune. Why, Srila Prabhupada, illiteracy? Because they don't have to be educated with all this bogus, false, crazy nonsense. To be educated by this Ugra Karma civilization doesn't make you intelligent. Even Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, it is the glare of Maya, material education, and it renders one more foolish than a donkey. What is that? Everyone gathered at the base of the Himalayan mountains. It was told that the Himalayan mountains were about to give birth. And such great, great mountains, their offspring must similarly be great. And what came out of the Himalayan mountains? Rats. Srila Prabhupada was in Edinburgh, in Scotland. You have very great universities. They're very proud, Scottish. Prabhupada, Scottish Churches College, Scotsmen in Calcutta, his teachers, his professors. So why is your universities producing hippies? Vidyavadu Jivanam. One becomes the most learned person. People praise me, Sanatana Goswami is being very learned, but I don't even know who I am. Learned men, therefore, must be cautious of this age. And if they all want to cross over the dangerous ocean of Kali, they must follow the footsteps of the sages of Naimisharanya and sect Sri Sutta Goswami or his bona fide representative, Srila Prabhupada, as the captain of the ship. The ship is the message of Lord Sri Krishna in the shape of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. Since Lord Sri Krishna, the absolute truth, the master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us unto whom religious principles have now gone for shelter. Acharya mam vijaniyan navayam yeta karhichit namartya buddhyas yasuyeta sarva deva mayo guru. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, think him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 17, verse 27, spoken by Lord Krishna when he was questioned by Uddhava regarding the four social and spiritual orders of society. He was specifically instructing how a brahmachari should behave under the care of a spiritual master. A spiritual master is not an enjoyer of facilities offered by his disciples. He is like a parent. Without the attentive service of his parents, a child cannot grow to manhood. Similarly, without the care of the spiritual master, one cannot rise to the plane of transcendental service. So Srila Prabhupada was certainly not taking this position to enjoy care or have like a comfortable position in his old age. Whatever austerities he asked his disciples to follow, he would be doing 10 times more. A question by some like obnoxious reporter in Australia, do you people work? I work harder than you. I'm traveling all over the world 2 or 3 times a year, sleeping only 3 or 4 hours a day. You cannot work as hard as us. And the spiritual master is also called Acharya, or transcendental professor of spiritual science. The Manu Samhita explains the duties of an Acharya, describing that a bona fide spiritual master accepts charge of disciples, teaches them the Vedic knowledge with all its intricacies, and gives them their second birth. The ceremony performed to initiate a disciple into the study of spiritual science is called Upaniti, or the function that brings one nearer to the spiritual master. One who cannot be brought nearer to a spiritual master cannot have a sacred thread, and thus he is indicated to be a Sudra. One of Srila Prabhupada's leading disciples, he described that if you were willing to dynamically serve Srila Prabhupada's mission, you would automatically or inevitably come very close to Srila Prabhupada. But if you, and it didn't matter who you were or what your position was, but if you had that reluctance, then you couldn't get close to him. The sacred thread on the body of a Brahmin, Kshatriya, or Vaishya is a symbol of initiation by the spiritual master. It is worth nothing if worn merely to boast of high parentage. The duty of the spiritual master is to initiate a disciple with the sacred thread ceremony, and after this samskar or purificatory process, the spiritual master actually begins to teach the disciple about the Vedas. So if you are engaging in the preaching mission, you have to have the knowledge imparted by the spiritual master and able to be able to preach. So Prabhupada put dynamic Vaishnavism in the mood of extreme compassion to be far higher than simple Brahminical life. Hence he coined the phrase, preaching is the essence. In the Vayu Purana, an acharya is defined as one who knows the import of all Vedic literature, explains the purpose of the Vedas, abides by their rules and regulations, and teaches the disciples to act in the same way. Only out of immense compassion does the personality of Godhead reveal himself as the spiritual master. He's described as the Kripa Avatar, the mercy incarnation of the Lord. Therefore, in the dealings of an acharya, there are no activities but those of transcendental loving service to the Lord. He is the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. It is worthwhile to take shelter of such a steady devotee who is called Ashraya Vigraha, or the manifestation or form of the Lord of whom one must take shelter. If one poses himself as an acharya, but does not have an attitude of servitorship to the Lord, he must be considered an offender. And this offensive attitude disqualifies him from being an acharya. The bona fide spiritual master always engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By this test, he is known to be a direct manifestation of the Lord and a genuine representative of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Balaram, the original Adi Guru spiritual master. Such a spiritual master is known as Acharya Dev. Influenced by an envious temperament and dissatisfied because of an attitude of sense gratification, mundaners criticize a real Acharya. In fact, however, a bona fide Acharya is non-different from the personality of Godhead, and therefore to envy such an Acharya is to envy the personality of Godhead himself. This will produce an effect subversive to transcendental realization. As mentioned previously, a disciple should always respect the spiritual master as a manifestation of Sri Krishna, but at the same time, one should always remember that a spiritual master is never authorized to imitate the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Shrutakirti Prabhu, who served Prabhupada intimately as his bodily servant for a good 2.5 years, was asked, when did you see Srila Prabhupada the happiest, and when did you see Srila Prabhupada the most disturbed or upset? He saw him the happiest when he was offering the first arti to Krishna Balaram at the opening of the temple in Ram Navami Day 1975. And when he saw Srila Prabhupada the most disturbed, when he was chastising and correcting the Gopi Bhava Club that appeared in Los Angeles. False spiritual masters pose themselves as identical with Sri Krishna in every respect to exploit the sentiments of their disciples. Of this previous sentence, he's never authorized to imitate the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Too much concentration on, quote-unquote, the higher topics of the Lord to the diminishment of being concerned to how to samsaradava nalalita loka chanaya karunaganaganatvam help the spiritual master's mission to extinguish the blazing fire of material existence will lead to cheap imitation, sahajaism, and deviation. And such a spiritual master as Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, learning so well from his own spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and his own spiritual master and father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, knew full well the dangers of cheap imitation or falsely assuming one to be in a higher position than one actually is, to the expense and detriment of serving the actual preaching mission. And again, the actually situated devotees on the highest level, they are preaching the Krishna, they are spreading the Sankirtan movement, they are spreading the teachings of Lord Krishna through Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Their main activity is preaching qualitatively and quantitatively to as many living entities as possible, as qualitatively as possible, as quickly as possible. And Srila Prabhupada demonstrated that in his life to his very last breath. So we as Srila Prabhupada's followers, we should mold our life to follow in that way as well. False spiritual masters pose themselves as identical with Sri Krishna in every respect to exploit the sentiments of their disciples, but such impersonalists can only mislead their disciples, for their ultimate aim is to become one with the Lord. This is against the principles of the devotional cult. The final paragraph of this purport, and we will conclude our class. The real Vedic philosophy is Achintya Abheda Bheda Tattva, which establishes everything to be simultaneously one with and different from the personality of Godhead. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami confirms that this is the real position of a bona fide spiritual master and says that one should always think of the spiritual master in terms of his intimate relationship with Mukunda. This is in Raghunath Das Goswami's Manashiksha, 10 verses of his own self-imposed regulative principles, which later, a few hundred years later, was expanded by Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Vedas, 12 verses of instruction, which was his last writing before he entered into complete absorption on the holy name the final 7 years of his life, 1907 to 1914, following the instruction of Lord Chaitanya, who told him to situate himself in a Bhajan Kutir near the Tota Gopinath temple, where he himself disappeared, Lord Chaitanya, from this world, and on the Chataka Parvat sand dunes, which are in Jagannath Puri known to be non-different than Govardhan Hill, where also the Samadhi tomb of his beloved Lord Chaitanya's Namacharya Haridas Thakur is situated. And you simply chant the holy name there, and by that chanting, you will deliver the entire universe. So that type of permission to chant on such a platform with truly earned authority can only be granted by the Supreme Lord himself, as in the case of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. One should think of the spiritual master in terms of an intimate relationship with Mukunda, Sri Krishna. So Vishwanath Chakravarti, he has given us the Guru Astakam, but within that is Sri Radhika Madhava Yorapara, Madhurya Lila Guna Rupa Namam, and Nikunja Yuno Rati Kele Sidaye, Yayali Bir Yuktir Apikshaniya, Tachati Dakshad Ati Vallabhasya, Vande Guru Sri Charanarabindam. That is the Mahatma, greatly expanded mind, greatly expanded soul. Everything is happening simultaneously, yet Bhutale, on this earth, in this body, with these hands and legs and senses, what we can perceive, what he's actually doing, practical devotional service. He told the devotee offering prayers to Srila Prabhupada while he was circumambulating Krishna Balaram Mandir where there was a big mess. Do something practical, clean this up. Actually, Prabhupada defined sannyas, the sannyas ashram. You'd be willing to do anything and everything, no matter what it takes, to expand the preaching movement. Which it meant cooking 10 chapatis each for, 12 hungry hippies in New York City in a little kitchenette, and then washing all the pots afterwards. The first initiation, Prabhupada prepared, performed it, and everyone ate a big feast, and everyone left the storefront, and they left Srila Prabhupada alone to clean everything up. Only gradually, well, maybe we should clean this up too. Maybe we should relieve our spiritual master. Srila Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha has clearly defined that a pure devotee's observation of the spiritual master and Lord Shiva as one with the personality of Godhead exists in terms of their being very dear to the Lord, not identical with him in all respects. There was some misunderstanding in ISKCON in 1970 on this point, and Srila Prabhupada came down very, very strongly on those who had that misunderstanding and routed it out from his burgeoning International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Following the footsteps of Raghunath Das Goswami and Jiva Goswami, later acharyas like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have confirmed the same truths. In his prayers to the spiritual master, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms that all the revealed scriptures except the spiritual master be identical with the personality of Godhead, because he is very dear, a very dear and confidential servant of the Lord. Gaudiya Vaishnavas therefore worship Srila Gurudev, the spiritual master, in the light of his being the servitor of the personality of Godhead. In all the ancient literatures of devotional service, and in the more recent songs of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, Sri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakati Sadma, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and other unalloyed Vaishnavas, the spiritual master is always considered either one of the confidential associates of Srimati Radharani or a manifested representation of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So this is a very glorious day, Srila Prabhupada's appearance day. This is the 128th annual observation of Srila Prabhupada's appearance. So, do we have the next program start immediately, which is what, bhajans? It's listed that homages start at 9 o'clock. Pancharatna, could you address us in a loud, clearly understandable voice?
Hare Krishna.
Do we have how about the microphone for Pancharatna, handheld microphone?
Yesterday, this morning, we'll be presenting homages to Srila Prabhupada. But we'll also, I request Ram Guru songs in glorification of Srila Prabhupada as Gurudev, perhaps Gurudev, we can do that. It would be nice if it could be put on the screen so people can sing along easily, or look it up on your device. Raya